What up, world? Welcome to episode 119 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and now cloudy confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks. Happy to be here with another jam-packed episode with you guys on this beautiful May 13th, 2025. This episode will be recapping the NBA Draft Lottery, which took place last night between 7 and 7:15. And I'll be recapping the playoff games last night, Knicks versus Celtics. Knicks taking a commanding 3-1 lead. Also talk about the Jason Tatum injury. And I'll also cover Warriors versus Timberwolves and the Warriors now also down 3-1 and against the Timberwolves and how that'll impact their future. Nonetheless, happy to be here on another episode with you guys. But before we get started, I definitely want to make sure we shout out one of the friends of the show. If you guys are looking to get your gaming on, if you're a PlayStation fan like myself, avid PlayStation player since 1996, I implore you to check out PlayStation Direct. The link will be in the description box. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to take your spouse out, have a great time with some friends, then look no further than the #1 leading ticket seller and reseller in the world, StubHub. #1 seller in the world for live events, tickets, shows, and concerts, StubHub. All right, guys, be going into this episode. We're going to go in chronological orders. We're going to touch on the draft lottery and then the basketball games that preceded last night. The draft lottery definitely was full of shock and surprise. As a Sacramento Kings fan, I definitely knew that the Kings weren't getting a draft pick. They fucked up their draft, bad management within the past few years, so I definitely knew that wasn't going to happen. But I was still very interested to see, nonetheless, how the rest of the team shaped up and how everything was going to play out. And shock, awe, and surprises were abound. First of all, let's start off with the obvious, the Mavericks winning the draft. LeBron said it. I think I said it around the same time because I posted a video last night. I implore you to definitely check that out. But yeah, this shit's rigged. This shit is rigged. You guys can see here on the screen the draft lottery results, who the top 10 are. And again, take a good look at that because you can clearly see that the worst teams did not get the better picks, or the teams that had the worst records did not get the picks. The Mavericks were a team that were in the play-in, 40 and 42. But nonetheless, clearly this did not benefit the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So sucks with this weighted system where, it doesn't really benefit you to tank. It only seems to benefit teams who lose superstars. I'll get into that in a second. But that being said, and as you can see here too, Nico Harrison was ecstatic, which understandably so. It saved his job after the horrible fucking job that he did by trading Luka mid-season and adding injury-riddled and older players around him, and then trying to convince the Dallas Mavericks fan base that was the right decision. Yeah, I bet he would be fucking ecstatic. It's kind of weird to me because usually a lot of teams in this scenario, we usually see some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Suffering, for lack of better words, some type of punishment where the team goes through it for a while, but they have to figure it out without that guy being there that they, in this situation, let go or just ushered out the door because he, quote, didn't play defense or drink too much beers. And, shout out to a good beer. That being said, not really sure what the fuck Nico Harrison and the Mavericks management, obviously, their thought process was more likely it wasn't to pay Luka Doncic, but they're now in the driver's seat with getting cooperflagg because pretty much he's going to be the unanimous #1 pick. So this pretty much saved their ass to a degree. They're banking on having Kyrie coming off an injury, which he probably will miss most of the year, coming off an injury. Also, the fact of you take into account Anthony Davis, you got Derek Gafford. You have some guys there on the lineup where this team could be formidable. This team could really do what they need to do to really be, the type of roster that Dallas wants to compete. However, I'm a bit confused because, again, when you talk about fourth largest odds ever to win the lottery, I think they had a 1.0% chance. I mean, if they shitted the bed with Luka, what's the guarantee they're going to do right by Cooper Flagg? I mean, if I'm Cooper Flagg, I'm anxious and happy about the opportunity. As you can see, on the screen, he definitely was. He had his family there in attendance. But, however, all of that being said, I just think it's a situation where they're going to, I mean, the Mavericks, they're going to be banking on this young guy succeeding and these older guys giving them a little bit more juice out of the orange. They're going to have to get younger, but nonetheless, credit to the Mavericks for winning the lottery and getting Cooper Flagg. Rounding out the top five, you got the Spurs getting number 2, which this just seems like fucking cheating at this point. They lose Popovich and they get the second pick in the draft. Trade asset, I think they got 2 picks in the first round, so you got the second and the 14th pick. I definitely feel like that's definitely trade bait right there. Excuse me. Third is the 76ers. I mean, 76ers are just happy to want to retain the pick and not lose it to Oklahoma City. I think the 76ers are in a situation where they're going to have to draft best young player available. Going a step further, the 4th pick will be going to the Charlotte Hornets. Fucking screwed because they need as much talent as they can get. Another same situation as young best player available. And number 5, the Utah Jazz, who were the worst team, stockpiled all those damn draft picks, got rid of Donovan Mitchell, got rid of Rudy Gobert, hoped that, all will work out, and it didn't. It really didn't. Well, worked out in the aspect of losing to get the, top selection, but, if they have the worst record in the league and have the 5th pick, it doesn't really do you any justice, but they're in the best situation still, get young best player available. They're going to have 2 picks in the first round, 5th and 21st. So, it's one of them situations where, again, you got multiple teams within the top 10 that's got multiple picks. Washington has multiple picks within the first round, 6th to 18th. You got Brooklyn has got 4 picks, which is very interesting to see what Brooklyn does, because I think Brooklyn might be able to grab some youth and a veteran, depending on how all that shakes out. And here's the Rockets. Credit to the Rockets getting into the top 10, getting that trade with the Suns, swiping a pick, and putting themselves in a position to be able to get, in place to be able to essentially add a quality player to their lineup without any qualms or any issues. I mean, you got to give them a shitload of credit for that. I don't know how anybody in their right mind can sit there and think that that's not great when you have a young roster that is desperately needing more young talent to really compete in a growing Western Conference. Also, some other 2 things to note I wanted to bring to attention about the draft lottery. Oklahoma City, Sam Presti and these guys doing it the fuck again. 2 first-round picks, 15th and 24th. And the Orlando Magic, which I think is probably one of the biggest wild cards, along with Oklahoma City in this draft. 2 first-round picks, 16th and 25th. I feel like they desperately need to grab another young talent to place along Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. But however, I also feel like it is imperative for them to also add a veteran. They need a veteran presence in that locker room to help stabilize the roster, help them with their growth, to get over that hump out of the first round. I just definitely think that that's going to be huge for the Orlando Magic this year. But yes, that's going to round up the top 10 in the draft lottery and how it all shapes out. Don't forget, NBA draft is going to be 2 days, 2-day event now, starting June 25th and ending June 26th. First round is June 25th. Second round is June 26th. So definitely don't forget to check that out. Also, too, something I wanted to bring to attention that I thought was very, very critical going forward is regarding the NBA draft. Per The Athletic article written by John Hollinger, he talked about the NBA draft and the outlook going forward, for the next, 3 or 4 years. And he had two key things to note that I think really, really were interesting. Like I said, I'm going to have a link within the description box. I implore you guys to check it out. He talked about no sophomores or juniors coming out due to NIL money, at least until 2028, when we will get a new wave of 5th-year seniors coming out into the league, to offset the lack of sophomores and juniors. I think that's incredible because, one, Basketball more than any other sport. I think basketball's had a lot of guys that were mediocre or weren't ready that were able to get pushed along because of their rank in school and maybe what they may have done in college or how they may have been in college. This is outstanding because now guys are going to be able to make their money longer. They're really going to have grown and developed. And then by the time they come into the NBA, you know, if that situation presents itself where they're an NBA ready player, then you're in a situation where it's like, oh, okay, the guy's got money, the guy's seasoned, the guy's ready to play. He might be in a plug and play situation, which could really benefit the roster immediately. You know, the more experience, the more repetitions, the better. So I definitely like that situation, but it will be weird and a little bit awkward to see that. Another one of his predictions is something that he says he thinks that we will see too is late first and early second round picks won't have as much value these next several years with the NIL taking as much prominent place as it has in college basketball, which again is also great too because what it's going to do is force general managers in front office to really evaluate their draft picks and really evaluate decisions instead of just tossing, you know, fuck them picks, you know, that mindset into the wind and reckless abandon and say, hey, let's just trade our draft picks, fuck the future. So I think that's great too. But I definitely implore you to check out that article in The Athletic. John Hollinger definitely expanded on a lot of key things going into the draft. And also he talked about his first round mock draft as well. But hopping into the games from last night, which were definitely exciting, but not without this lack of drama. First and foremost, want to give credit to the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have been fucking outstanding. Up 3-1 now. Obviously, the Jason Tatum injury takes a lot of the attention and air out of the room. However, I would preference anyone because I did watch the game. If you really think that Jason Tatum getting injured was the sole difference and the reason as to why the Boston Celtics lost, you're a fool. They were already down by 9 points by the time he got injured with 3 and some change in the fourth quarter. So do not run with that narrative. Anyone who feeds you that narrative is lying to you and they weren't really giving you an accurate assessment of the game. Getting that disclaimer out the way. What a fucking game. Derek White was hot from the start. I thought he had it going. It was amazing. He ended the game with 23 points. 6 of 11 from 3, so he definitely had it going early. The Knicks were definitely bringing the energy. However, the turnovers early in the game were putting them in a bad situation where they had to kind of like fight uphill. But, you know, you got to give Boston credit too. Ended the first quarter on a 12-0 run, 9 3-pointers in that first quarter. Had the 3-ball going. Tatum had the ball, you know, it was just jumping out of his hand into the hoop. Tragic as hell to see him suffer that horrific Achilles injury. Well, we're assume looking at it, Achilles injury. You know, it's all been documented and we're all waiting word officially. We're all pretty much, you know, safe assumption that he tore his Achilles, but it sucked because he had an outstanding game. Tatum ended the game with 42 points. He had 8 rebounds and 4 assists, and he was 7 of 16 from 3, which gives you an idea of how well he was shooting the ball last night. The Knicks, though, they really had to respond because they were struggling early. Karl Anthony Towns was playing very lazy defense because calls weren't going his way. Shit didn't play out the way it needed to, so be that as it may, you know, he was kind of bitching. Also, too, you can see that the Knicks got the 3-ball going, which was substantial and imperative for them in their comeback. And then, you know, Boston has to really wear this. We've had 3 games now to show that they cannot put this team away. You've had 20-point leads consistently against this team, cannot put them away consistently. It shows. And then the Knicks starting 4 was lethal. And I mean, I don't mean whole starting 5 because Josh Hart didn't really provide points. You know, Josh Hart's kind of a utility guy. But, you know, they're starting 4. You know, you had 20 points from OG Anunoby, who was clutch, 4 of 8 from 3. Excuse me. Karl Anthony Towns, 23 points, 11 rebounds. No threes, thank God. But, you know, he only took 3, so can't complain with that. He only took 3 attempts. But he was efficient from the field, 11 of 15. Which you need him to be for them to really be dominant. Mikalbridges had 23 points, and also Jalenbrunson, of course. Jalenbrunson, Mr. Clutch, 39 points, 12 assists, 4 of 8 from 3, and he was hella efficient, 14-25, give you 56% for the field. So, yeah, Boston's done. Boston's had a hell of a run. This iteration of the Boston Celtics is done. These things happen. It's tragic. It sucks. But there's no way in hell you're going to be able to keep this team together, especially with Tatum injured. You may have to, you're paying Jaylen Brown a lot of money. As far as the series goes, you know, they may win one other game, but I expect this to end in 6 games. I expect this to end. I mean, honestly, I expect this to end in 5 games. It could go 6 games, but I expect it to end in 5. Last but not least, we're going to touch on the Wolves and Warriors, which is another one that is close to being over. The Timberwolves are now up 3-1. And before I forget, the final score in Knicks Celtics was 121-113. Going into now Wolves and Warriors, Timberwolves were able to pull out that victory 117-110. I like this game because it was a tight game in the start, but let's not bullshit ourselves. Without Steph Curry, the Warriors can't hang. The Warriors can't hang. As I touched on in a previous episode, Jimmy's not a volume shooter, so that definitely affects everything. Draymond, can't really keep himself out of foul trouble, and he's not really hella efficient consistently enough from the floor to really help this team. The team's playing monetary games, free agency games with Jonathan Kuminga, so they're playing them, not playing them. It's just very weird and wacky how they're going about things. The Wolves got hot in that second quarter with 3, but they were giving up a lot of interior points. You knew it was something that was going to change at some point, but Julius Randle, old dog Julius Randle. First of all, let's give OG a shout out. 31 points, 11 of 21 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, which I thought was hella needed. Anthony Edwards needs somebody else to carry the load with them, so to have Julius Randle playing at this level, definitely being back at home, knowing all of what's, led into this series and what's, been a factor for him, knowing that he kind of had been discredited at times. This was just phenomenal. He's played outstanding in this series. Jonathan Kuminga, though, I want to make sure I give Jonathan Kuminga some shine. Jonathan Kuminga, Gil's Arena, if you really want some in-depth look at this, definitely check out Gil's Arena. They've definitely been talking about this throughout the year. But I have definitely watched, and it is disgusting how the Warriors, what the fuck they're doing to Kuminga. I know it's NBA free agency shit. I know it's all shit that they use to kind of manipulate and, fuck with the cap so they can make sure they can get a guy to fit in at the number that they want. But, Jonathan Kuminga is definitely going to get paid. 23 points. He was 6 of 13 from the field. He didn't hit any threes last night, but again, hella efficient, 91% from the free throw line, hella efficient. Now he didn't grade out well. He was negative 13 from the floor, so he didn't grade out that well. However, the scoring presence was there from him, and it's been there for the past several games. So the Warriors are going to have to kind of figure this out. Not really sure why they're going about it with him the way they are. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it's just they don't want to lose him, but yeah, he's definitely putting on a clinic as of late. Got to give credit to Ant-Man as well. Anthony Edwards was getting hot in that third quarter, and he stayed hot throughout. That third quarter was ultimately where the Timberwolves pulled away and made this, game obsolete. They were up by 20 at the end of that point. Jay McDaniels, killing fucking, the Warriors again too. Jay McDaniels had he had 10 points. He had 13 rebounds, 4 of 8 from the field. Didn't hit any threes last night, which was kind of shocking. But again, more or less a defensive stalwart last night. And it's a situation where you're just looking at the Warriors and you just realize without Steph Curry out there moving around and their sets that they have and the rotations they have, they don't really have the roster or lineup to really stop this team or really stop, the Timberwolves. And I fully expect the Timberwolves to make the Western Conference Finals. So we shall see and who they'll play out of Oklahoma City and Denver. But it's getting interesting. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I thank you guys, as always, for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.